All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to play What's Behind That Door. So you can see I've got three doors, 1, 2, and 3. And behind one of those doors is a special prize, and that prize is labeled with an H. Okay? So what I'd like you to do right now is on your iPads is either press door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3 to see if you won the prize. All right? On your mark, set, go. All right, so maybe some of you won the prize. I don't know. If you did get an H after you press the button, come see me tomorrow morning and I will give you your prize. Okay? So it was actually behind door number 3. There was my H. So that's basically what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be playing Find That H. Okay? And how that relates to what we talked about yesterday is, yesterday we started talking about volume. Volume of a sphere, cone, or cylinder. So before, we just had to find the volume. So for example, if you look at this purple problem down here, so in this problem down here, we wanted to find the volume. So we set up the problem as volume equals pi r squared h. And in this case, we knew what pi was, we knew what radius was, radius is 3, and the height in this case would be 8. So I would have simply wrote it as v equals pi times r squared times height, which is 8. I guess people didn't see the on-air button. All right, anyways, and then we would go ahead and we'd multiply this out to find v, because v is the unknown at this point. We don't know what v is, so to find v, we have got to multiply everything on this side. Well, today's lesson, we're going to get volume. We're going to know what the volume is. We just will not know what the height is. So we already know our algebra skills from the fall, and that's what's going to help us solve for h. So, just to kind of review, don't have to write this down. So back in the fall, we did problems like the following. 30 equals 5x. And we want to know what x is, so in this case, we would just divide both sides by 5 to get 6 equals x. If we had another problem like 24 equals 2 times 3 y, to find y, well, I'd multiply 2 times 3 together, so it'd be 24 equals 6y. And then to figure out what y is, I just divide both sides by 6 to get 4 equals my y. So it's going to be very similar to what we do today. The difference is you're going to be dealing with equations that look like this, and we're just going to be looking for h. So let's go ahead and look at some examples. So take a look at the first problem here. So we want to find x if volume is 25.12. So they're telling us what volume is. Well, first let's write down the formula. Volume equals 1/3 pi r squared h. Now, if they give me volume and there's no pi symbol in the volume, I'm going to use 3.14. So I'll write that over here. So pi equals 3.14. You'll see what I mean when we do the next problem, or do another problem. So what is volume in this problem? Well, they're telling me that volume is 25.2. So where volume is, I'm going to put 25.12 equals 1/3. Pi, I'm going to use 3.14, so write down 3.14. Times the radius. Well, here they're giving me the entire diameter. So that's not the radius. So to find the radius, I have to cut that in half. So it's going to be 2 squared times h. Okay? So what I need to do now is I need to clean up all these numbers or coefficients out in front of the h. So I'm just going to multiply them. I'm going to enter all this in my calculator. I'm going to enter 1/3 times 3.14 times 2 squared. And when I do that, I get 4.19. Okay, I still have my h. Still got to do something with that. So now this looks like those simple algebraic problems that we just did a minute ago. So to get h by itself, I've got to get rid of the 4.19. And to do that, I'm going to divide both sides by 4.19. So when you divide both sides by 4.19, and again, I'm just going to show this for this first problem, but I'm not going to show it after that, because at this point you guys should realize that you're dividing. So divide, you end up with 5.99 equals h. Now, when you do these problems, because we're dealing with pi and there's a little bit of rounding involved, when you get a number like 5.99, that really means that your height is 6. Just round that up to a nice whole number like 6 when you get a number like 0.99 or something like that. Okay? So let's take a look at the next problem. It says the volume of a cone is 66 cubic inches. If the diameter of the base is 6 inches, what is the height? So again, we're dealing with a cone. So it's the same formula as up above. So volume equals 1/3 pi r squared h. So fill in all the known numbers. So I know the volume is 66. So there's no pi symbol in my answer, so I'm going to get rid of the pi symbol and use 3.14 times 3.14. Did they tell me the radius? No, they're telling me the diameter. The diameter is 6, so that means my radius is 3. So 3 squared times h. So again, clean up all this multiplication out in front. So 66 equals, when you do that, you get 9.42 h. And again, the last step to get rid of that 9.42 in front of the h is divide both sides by 9.42. And when you do that, you get 7 equals your height. Okay? Take a look at the next one. It says find the height of a cylinder with a volume of 100 centimeters cubed and a radius of 2. So now we're dealing with a cylinder, and the volume of a cylinder is just pi r squared h. We don't need the 1/3 in this one because it's not a cone. Okay, they're telling us the volume. The volume is 100, so that's my V. There's no pi in the volume, so I'm just going to use 3.14. The radius is 2, so times 2 squared times h. Enter that into the calculator. 3.14 times 2 squared. You get 100 equals 12.56 h. And like in all the previous steps, we're going to divide both sides by 12.56 to both sides. So 100 divided by 12.56 is 7.96. Oops. Equals h. Or if you just wrote 8 equals h, that would be good too. Alright, now let's take a look at the next one. And now you'll see what I mean by the pi symbol. So here we have a cylinder, and the volume is 720 pi. So notice they have the symbol in the answer, which they don't up here. Here there's no symbol. So that means I'm going to leave pi as pi and not write 3.14. So again, the volume's the same. I can use that from up here. So I'm not going to rewrite the formula because I'm running out of room. So I'm going to use this formula. So my volume is 720 pi equals, just leave pi as itself, as a symbol. It'll disappear in a couple minutes, times the radius, which is 6 squared, times my height. So when you multiply that whole left side, you get, right side, you get 36 pi h. Okay, because 6 squared, or 6 times 6, is 36. So now I'm going to divide both sides by 36 pi. So I'll show it this time. So just to divide by 36 pi, divide by 36 pi. And here's where you can see that our pi's now cancel, and they kind of disappear on their own, which is nice. So I'm just left with 720 divided by 36. And that ends up getting me an answer of 20 equals my height. Okay? These go away on that side. You're just left with h, and 20 is your answer. Oops. Okay. If you want, you can try the next two on your own and check your work with what I have. So go ahead and do that. You can hit pause if you want. Just make sure this one is a cylinder, that one is a cone. Cylinder, cone. Okay, go ahead and hit pause. Sorry. Okay, so for this problem, you can see that we have pi in our solution, so for our volume, so 1,215 pi. So I'm going to leave my pi symbol there, and I have 9 squared h. So 9 squared is 81. So I'm left with 81 pi h. Divide both sides by 81 pi, and you can see here that the pi's cancel. So then you're left with 15 is our height. The bottom one, here we've got a cone, so I got to remember it's 1/3 the formula of the cylinder. So you'll notice the volume does not have the pi symbol, so I will use 3.14 instead of the pi symbol in my my formula. So you multiply 1/3 times 3.14 times 10 squared, and when you do that, you get 104.7. Divide both sides by that amount, you're left with 1.43. Okay. Take a look at the next page. Okay, so now for this entire page, we're going to be dealing with a cylinder. So just to kind of keep things nice and neat, volume of a cylinder is pi r squared h. So in this problem, they're giving me volume, no symbol, so I'm going to use 3.14 for pi. So my volume is 904.32 equals 3.14 times the radius. Well, they're giving me the diameter, so the radius is actually 3 times 3 squared times h. Okay, clean up the right side by multiplying. So 3.14 times 3 squared is 28.26 h. Divide both sides by 28.26. You're left with 32 is your height. Okay, number 2, same thing. Volume, no symbol, so I use 3.14. So that's 706.5 equals 3.14 times the radius squared times h. Clean up that side. And you get 78.5 h. Divide both sides by 78.5. 9 equals h. Okay, that's all the problems we're going to do for this page. Let's take a look at the next page. We're dealing with a cone. So again, let's write down the formula for cone here. Cone's 1/3 the size of a cylinder, so it's going to be 1/3 that formula. So we're just doing the same thing. We know what the volume is. The volume now is 4,069.49 equals 1/3 times 3.14 times radius. This time they're giving me the radius, so that's 9 squared times h. So clean up all that jazz on the right side. So that's going to give me 4069.49 equals 84.78 h. Divide both sides by 84.78, and you're left with 48 is your height. Okay, and the last one here, number 2. What's my volume? Volume is 5652, so I know what the volume is. I don't know what the height of this cone is, so that's what we're going to figure out. So 1/3 times 3.14 times, now again they're giving me the diameter, so don't be fooled. The diameter is 10. That means the radius would be 5 times h. So multiply all this in your calculator. 1/3 times 3.14 times 5 squared. When you do that, you get 26.17 h. Divide both sides by 26.17, and you're left with 215.97 is our height, or you could say it's just 216. Either one is fine. Okay, so again, in these type of problems, you're looking for volume. Or, I'm sorry, you're looking for the height, so they give you the volume. So the equation is going to be a little bit different than what we looked at the previous 2 days, where you were just finding the volume. But just use your algebraic skills to isolate the variable, get it by itself, clean up the one side, and then divide by whatever coefficients in front of the h. Okay. All right, that's it for now. Good luck. Listen to your instructions from your teacher, and don't be a cone head.